You are 45 years old. You are sitting completely alone in the deep velvet dark of a soundproof private movie theater inside your $15 million Malibu mansion. Outside the floor-to-ceiling glass walls, the massive, violent waves of the Pacific Ocean crash against the cliffs in absolute silence. The heavy, expensive architecture swallows the roar of the outside world before it can ever touch your skin. Then, your phone lights up on the leather armrest. The screen flashes a cold, sharp ice blue against the heavy darkness of the room. It is a text message from your older brother, a man currently suffocating under the unyielding weight of a standard 30-year suburban mortgage. The words on the display read, "Living in paradise like you probably do not even know what pressure is anymore." You look away from the glowing screen, out toward the empty black horizon. The world looks at this concrete structure to decide exactly how much respect they owe your name. They look at the clean lines and genuinely believe the money has repaired your soul. They are completely wrong. Not a home, a fortress. You are 24 years old. You live in a dilapidated studio apartment perched on the forgotten edge of a rusty suburban industrial area. The numbers on your lease do not stay on the paper. They dictate the literal air you breathe. Every time the heavy winter rain clouds roll across the American sky, the structural failures of your low-tier choice reveal themselves. Above your bed, a deep, jagged fracture slowly splits the old plaster ceiling. You do not call a professional contractor or an emergency repairman because your current bank balance refuses to clear the invoice. Instead, you walk down the brightly lit aisles of Home Depot, count out your last crumpled bills, and buy a single $10 green plastic tarp. You drag it back, spread it over your mattress, and set a plastic bucket on the worn carpet to catch the leaking water. Drip, drip. The hollow, metallic echo becomes the permanent soundtrack of your youth, filling a space that permanently smells of damp wood, decaying insulation, and cheap instant coffee. But the true weight of this tear is not the dampness of the walls. It is the invisible mark it brands onto your professional life. You leave this room every morning to sit in a clean corporate office, pretending you participate in the same race as everyone else. You are wrong. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the office atmosphere shifts. Your coworkers plan a spontaneous happy hour at a trendy downtown bar. They stand by the elevators, opening applications on their phones to split the ride-sharing fares. A colleague turns to you with a bright, welcoming smile, asking for your address so everyone can split the Uber. You state the name of your industrial neighborhood. The room goes completely silent for 2 cold seconds. The welcoming smile on their face freezes, dissolving into an evasive, uncomfortable grin. They look down at their polished leather loafers and say, "Oh, that area is a bit out of the way for our route. We will just go ahead by ourselves." It is framed as a logical courtesy to save your time, but it is not. It is a social border wall, cleanly drawn in the sand, separating those who belong from those who are merely tolerated. This exact pattern of social shunning follows you straight back to your front door. The mechanical system of the city treats you with the same calculated neglect. An Amazon delivery van pulls up along your curb. The driver looks out his window at the fractured, mossy concrete steps leading up to your common entrance. He does not waste his precious seconds climbing up to your door. He simply throws your cardboard package directly onto the edge of the dusty, oil-stained asphalt, snaps a quick digital photograph for his corporate metrics, and speeds away into the traffic. You retrieve the box and lock yourself back inside the shadows. A heavy, crushing tightness settles deep inside your chest. Your heart races into a frantic rhythm every single time the heavy footsteps of a passing stranger echo near your thin ground floor window. You realize this house does not protect your body from the cold world. It does something far more dangerous. It acts as a transparent box that exposes your absolute vulnerability to the merciless judgment of the society around you. The rule at this level is stark. Not stability, survival. At this point in the race, the world slowly takes away your cheapest asset, your presence as a human being. You are 30 years old. You have just purchased a home at the exact median price of a house in America. It is a standard 2-story house situated inside a perfectly gridded suburban subdivision, completely identical to the 9 houses built directly next door to yours. The gray siding matches. The concrete driveway matches. The predictable trajectory of your life matches. It is 8 o'clock on a cold Monday morning. You open your laptop to find an automated notification sitting at the top of your inbox. It is a $50 fine email sent by the local homeowners association. Your crime is tiny, yet meticulously documented on their digital dashboard. Your front lawn grass is exactly half an inch taller than the strict community limit. You step out into the crisp air, pull the cord on your mechanical lawnmower, and walk in straight lines. As you push the heavy machine across the yard, you realize you are not just maintaining real estate, you are trimming your entire existence down to a mandatory social standard. This rigid expectation governs how everyone around you behaves. The man living directly across the asphalt street is currently washing the chrome wheels of his heavy family sport utility vehicle. He looks up, catches your eye through the morning mist, and gives you a small, generic nod. It is a completely lifeless, programmed movement. He does not need to ask what you do for a living, or who you are. He looks at your exact house model, looks at the small, low-segment sedan parked outside your garage, and his brain automatically computes your exact salary bracket at work. To him, and to the system, you are an invisible entity. You are a model citizen, predictable, obedient, a silent number in their census data. This calculated lens follows you straight into your private family gatherings. During Thanksgiving dinner, the living room is crowded with people. Your highly successful uncle stands near the kitchen counter, looks around your standard walls, and sips his expensive wine. He looks down at you and asks, "This school district is pretty average, isn't it? When are you finally planning to upgrade to a real neighborhood?" To your own blood, your achievement is invisible. They look at your home and see a temporary waiting room for someone who has stalled out in the American race. A strange, cold sensation settles deep into your stomach. It is a physical sense of absolute structural security wrapped entirely inside a profound emptiness. You followed every single textbook step written by the corporate world. You checked every box. Yet, the reward is simply to disappear into the invisible middle class. The rule at this level is simple, not success, compliance. This house successfully buys you the right to safety, but it quietly takes away your right to be different. It is 1 a.m. You are 33 years old, sitting completely alone at the cheap laminate kitchen counter of your $400,000 house. The rest of the neighborhood is asleep. The refrigerator hums a low, mechanical tune in the dark, a constant reminder of the ordinary life you have accepted. But beneath this ordinary surface lies a secret. Nobody in your world knows the mathematical truth hiding inside your private accounts. Through years of strict, boring austerity, your investment portfolio has silently climbed to $600,000. You have more than enough money to drop a massive down payment on an $850,000 home in a prestigious, wealthy school district. You have the financial keys to instantly fit into the suburban elite. Your index finger hovers exactly 1 inch above the glowing green contact agent button on the Zillow application. The sharp blue screen light cuts through the darkness of the kitchen. In the quiet, your mind wanders backward. You recall the exact smug look on Ryan's face last Tuesday as he stood in the office parking lot, showing off the leather interior of his brand new luxury car. You feel a sudden, heavy ache tightening inside your chest. It is the primitive weight of comparison. You crave the instant, nodding approval of the neighbors across the street. You want the suffocating judgment of your family to finally cease. You want to buy a visible victory that can be measured by the eyes of strangers. 30 seconds of total silence pass. You look up through the glass window at the dark lawn outside, then down at the screen. Your finger stays still. You close the application. You flip the phone face down on the cold counter. You decide to stay in this average house for another 5 years. Not defeat. Strategy. You choose to look like a failure on the outside, to cultivate absolute freedom on the inside. You are 35 years old. You have finally left behind the gridded sameness of the median tier and moved your family into an upscale, heavily manicured American suburb. The high school district here is pristine, celebrated across the state, and filled entirely with the privileged children of wealthy doctors, corporate executives, and senior partners. Your immediate physical environment transforms into a series of curated, high-end objects. On your white quartz kitchen counter sits a thick, textured stationery card, a formal invitation to a Saturday night wine tasting event hosted by the neighborhood block. Inside, your leather wallet sits a heavy, matte black credit card, sent to you completely anonymously through the mail by a financial institution that pre-approved your status before you ever asked. When you shop for dinner, your hands grip the clean, chrome handle of a Whole Foods shopping cart. Suddenly, because of these objects, the world changes the exact way it treats you. The cold indifference of the lower tiers completely dissolves, replaced by a deep, warm affirmation. The neighbors' established lawyers and corporate vice presidents wave enthusiastically from across their immaculate stone driveways. They move into your life with ease, inviting you to backyard cocktail hours and private fundraisers. Passersby slow their luxury vehicles down just to look at the architectural lines of your front porch with genuine respect. The entire American system makes a massive, instantaneous assumption about your soul. Because of this specific zip code, society automatically decides that you possess a flawless, happy marriage, an elite level of education, and a perfectly synchronized, stable life. But you quickly learn that this overwhelming respect is not a gift. It is a strict, conditional rental agreement for a mask you are forced to wear every single morning. The surveillance in this tier is quiet, polite, and completely merciless. If you choose to park a vehicle that is even 5 years too old in your yard, you can watch the warmth in those neighborly smiles instantly freeze over. You begin to notice the calculated way your neighbors casually glance down at your hands when you walk from your vehicle to your front door. They are reading your grocery bags. They are checking to see if you purchased organic, artisanal, heirloom vegetables from Whole Foods, or if you brought home cheap, bulk rate groceries from Walmart. They are constantly measuring your trajectory, judging whether your engine is starting to hoot-ho, whether you are quietly falling behind in their exhausting, unspoken race. The weight of this constant performance alters your biology. You pull your clean vehicle into the garage after a 10-hour workday, hit the wall button, and watch the heavy motorized door slide down, cutting off the eyes of the street. You do not step out of the car. You sit completely still in the enclosed, dark garage for 15 minutes. Your hands grip the steering wheel. Your forehead is slick with sweat, and your chest heaves in the stifling heat. A profound, crushing emptiness settles deep into your bones. You realize with terrifying clarity that you are working yourself to the absolute edge of collapse every single day, not to secure your life, and not to build a future, but simply to fuel the shallow expectations of a neighborhood that would forget your name by next Tuesday if your income dried up. You are 40 years old. You live in a highly secured, pristine, gated community perched on a quiet, exclusive hill in Southern California. The numbers on your deed do not just represent real estate, they establish a permanent barrier between your life and the rest of the city. Every single afternoon, the massive iron gate at the entrance of your neighborhood swings open only after the automated biometrics and high-resolution face scanners successfully read your expression. You drive through the manicured streets in complete silence. Inside your residence, 5 completely empty bedrooms echo loudly with the solitary, rhythmic sound of your own footsteps on the polished hardwood floors. The house is too large for your history. It carries a stillness that feels less like peace and more like an omission. Because of this address, your daily interactions with the world lose all trace of normal human friction. True respect safely mutates into a cold, transactional apprehension and absolute subservience. When you walk through the heavy doors of a premium, Michelin-starred restaurant downtown, the head manager instantly lowers his voice by an entire octave. He bows his head slightly, avoiding direct eye contact, and automatically maneuvers your party away from the main crowd, seating you at the most secluded, ultra-private corner table in the back. The staff treats you with a desperate, calculated politeness. They look at your coat and your reservation and see an entity that must not be inconvenienced. You are treated like royalty, but you feel completely detached from the room. The true damage of this $3 million tier, however, reveals itself in the quiet, fading spaces of your old life. Your childhood friends slowly begin to disappear from your phone. They no longer send casual text messages to invite you to their weekend backyard barbecues. They do not say it out loud, but they have already made a definitive, permanent assumption about your loyalty. They believe you have moved to a completely different level of existence, a place where their ordinary stories no longer belong. On the rare occasions when you do manage to gather at a local establishment, a heavy, suffocating, awkward silence falls over the entire table the exact second the waiter places the dinner bill between you. Nobody reaches for their wallet. Nobody jokes about splitting the cost. They simply sit in absolute stillness, staring down at the paper, silently waiting for you to pull out your heavy black credit card. The silent dinner bills reveal a painful truth. Your house has drawn a permanent financial line across the fabric of your past, a psychological border that absolutely no one dares to cross anymore. A deep, visceral coldness radiates from the vast, empty spaces of your vaulted ceilings and settles straight into your chest. You stand alone in the dark kitchen, listening to the faint, distant hum of the climate control. You look out at the silent, gated street and realize what the math has done. You did not spend $3 million to purchase more physical living space for your family. You paid a massive fortune to buy complete, absolute isolation from the human world. The rule at this level is simple: not luxury, separation. You are 45 years old. Your legal address is a massive, modern beachfront mansion positioned on the exclusive, private coastline of Malibu. At this level of the American hierarchy, your house no longer possesses a standard street number. It does not require one. Instead, it has a unique, isolated name etched cleanly into a stone plaque at the boundary, a private label that completely detaches your land from the public municipal grid. The physical world around you is defined entirely by structures of absolute exclusion. A 3-meter-high solid concrete wall, covered completely in thick, creeping green ivy, runs along the entire edge of your property line, completely blocking the eyes of ordinary drivers passing by on the Pacific Coast Highway. Anyone attempting to approach your life is forced to stop at the edge of the dark asphalt and speak into a cold, metallic, digital intercom system that filters out the human voice before it can ever reach your living room. And deep inside, the heavily reinforced concrete foundation of this structure sits your ultimate prize, a $1 million, custom-engineered, soundproof private movie theater. But the true cost of this $15 million tier is not the monthly bill for the concrete. It is the absolute dehumanization that comes with it. You no longer exist as an actual human being to the society moving outside your gates. To the public consciousness, you have mutated into an abstract economic symbol. When ordinary tourists walk along the damp public sand of the beach, far below your structural columns, they stop. They tilt their heads upward and stare at your massive, brightly lit glass windows with a toxic, heavy mixture of quiet indignation, bitter envy, or an extreme, morbid curiosity. They do not see a person who worries or bleeds in the dark. They see an untouchable monument. You have become nothing more than an anonymous, faceless data point in analytical corporate articles detailing tax policies, aggressively targeting the top 1%. You are sitting completely alone in that heavy velvet theater. The expensive engineering successfully purchased absolute, flawless silence from the noisy chaos of the outside world. Yet, in that $1 million silence, the physics of your inner life completely reverse. Because there is no external noise left to distract your mind, the echoes of your own historical decisions, your calculated sacrifices, and your profound solitude become louder and more deafening than they have ever been before. The rule at this final level is absolute. Not a home, a fortress. You spend exactly $15 million to perfectly ensure that not a single person on Earth can ever disturb your peace again, only to realize that absolutely no one can reach you anymore. The digital intercom system at your massive Malibu gate suddenly buzzes, fracturing the absolute silence of your coastal property. You look up at the high-definition security monitor. On the screen stands Ryan. 10 years ago, he was the loudest person in your corporate office, constantly boasting about his leased luxury vehicles and openly mocking your average life. Today, the illusion has collapsed. His $1 million suburban mansion, built entirely on high-interest debt and shallow pride, has just been foreclosed by the bank following a massive corporate layoff. His posture is broken. His voice trembles through the metallic speaker, cutting through the ocean breeze as he looks up at your towering stone wall with a desperate, pleading gaze. He asks you for money. He asks how you managed to remain completely untouched by the economic crisis that destroyed his world. 10 years ago, the outside world looked at his lifestyle and recorded a definitive judgment that he was a winner. Today, he finally realizes you were never trailing behind him in their race. You were never even playing their game. You quietly stepped off their track and left the stadium long ago. Somewhere right now, the sun is setting over another standard American suburb. A young man is standing inside his ordinary kitchen, staring down at a cold penalty email from his local homeowners association management. He feels a sharp, heavy pang of shame tightening in his chest because he just looked out the window and noticed his neighbor has upgraded to a wider, concrete driveway. He thinks this entire story is about real estate. He thinks it is about the quality of the bricks, the square footage, and the volatile market value. He is wrong. This was never really about the property. It was about the terrifying cost of validation. At $100,000, a house is nothing more than a thin pane of glass that exposes your deepest financial vulnerability to the pity of the world. At $15 million, the heavy walls are thick enough to perfectly keep the world out, but they lock you inside completely alone with the deafening echoes of your own identity. Some people spend their entire lives buying bigger boxes just to control what the neighbors think of them. Others become free the day they realize the only partition that matters is the distance between who you are and who you need the world to see.